This show is sponsored by Synapse 3DI at www.synapse3di.com and by Relate Corporation at www.relate.com.
Hi everyone, I am Rick Zanotti, and here we are. We're watching SchreckTeck. This is episode number 6. And without any further ado, let's go to Gina Schreck, our co-host.
Oh wait, there's more ado.
More ado.
There's more ado. What do you mean no further ado? Rick, we had last week off. Both of us were out working, speaking at different conferences, so it seems like it's been a long time since we've seen each other. And you know, you were out speaking at what conference?
I was at Adobe Learning Summit and the Learning Solutions from the eLearning Guild. So
big conference there.
Down in Orlando.
In Orlando. And you know what was interesting is I was just a little further south, and I was in Naples, Florida, and I was speaking at a funeral directors marketing conference. Very interesting audience to talk about social media.
They were a little stiff though, right?
They were listening, and you know, it is a dying industry, but we were reviving it with social media. And I'm excited because today we have with us the fabulous and my friend that Jennifer and I have known each other for, I feel like a really long time. Jennifer Abernethy, welcome.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, glad to be here.
And on Twitter, Jennifer is the Sales Lounge, or at Sales Lounge. And she's also the author of our favorite book series, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Social Media.
Which I have.
Yeah, so, you know, Jennifer, welcome. And, you know, here's the funny thing. Jennifer and I met via social media. We met online through Facebook. I don't remember if it was Facebook or Twitter first, but chatted. We met in Second Life. I remember touring you around in Second Life and showing you that crazy world. And we talked about virtual environments and technology. And then I got to work with her on The Idiot's Guide to Social Media as the technical editor, which the hardest part was, as she's writing it, everything was changing. I mean, Facebook, YouTube, they're always changing. So it was a really interesting project to work on.
It was, but that's a great idea. I know we're talking about social selling, but there we go right there. You got that project, and we had never met in person before. We met online.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, when we talk about social selling, it's really about social relationships online, that you meet people, you form these relationships, and it can turn into business projects.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
Absolutely.
true. I met Gina online too, and now I'm meeting you online, sort of, indirectly.
That's right.
Through Gina.
And you know, Rick and I still have never met live.
See, that's great. And so I think people need to look at that. I mean, every connection can turn into a potential business partner, a potential referral partner, a business champion of yours, or, hey, you might even look out and make a new friend. That's
right. Or, what is it, 4 out of 8 people meet online and end up getting married?
Yeah. That's right.
Who knows? You know, it is one of those interesting things today, selling and building those relationships, those customer and client relationships. A lot of them start online. And is that what really led you? I mean, you have been in the sales industry, the sales side of business for a long time.
I was in corporate sales for 22 years. I was an award-winning, multi-million-dollar producer, and I worked for the Washington Post for a long time, and then I worked in the e-learning.com industry for 7 years. And I launched the Sales Lounge to really help people become more successful at selling and business development.
And so it started out as you were going out and doing sales training, which you still do.
Yeah, what happened was when I left and started the Sales Lounge, I went back and I approached my corporate clients, and I said, hey, I want to help your sales teams and individuals be more successful. And, you know, I'd start calling them up and say, hi, this is Jennifer Abernethy with the Sales Lounge. And most of them thought that I was a bar downtown.
So they were very eager to talk to you.
So once I overcame that objection, I realized we were at the beginning of the recession. This was in early 2007. And they did not want their salespeople in the office. They wanted them out on the street. They didn't want them sitting with someone like me. And so I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? And so I heard about this thing called Facebook. And no one that I knew was on Facebook. There were no books on Facebook. Can you believe this? This is just a few short years ago.
I know, just a couple years ago.
I mean, 2007, we're talking spring, early summer 2007. I think no one that was using this technology for business. And the way that I looked at this tool was there were 30 million people.
Oh, hold on. I think we're getting a lot of noise.
Oh, the train must be passing.
Yep.
That's right. The way that I looked at Facebook was I said, you know what, there's 30 million people at that time. There were 30 million people on the site. And if 30 of them can become clients of mine, I'll be set.
Yeah.
And so I really looked at Facebook as a place to start networking and growing my business, and that's exactly what happened.
And isn't it funny that there were only 30 million people?
There were only 30 million people, which I thought that number was so exorbitant. I was like, my gosh, you know, so I tell people, and I say in my book, and I'll say to the listeners today, that Facebook is the world's largest virtual trade show. I mean, there's now nearly 600 million people on there, and they're offering you a free booth, and your booth is your profile. And so when people stop by your profile,
great analogy.
What does it say about you? How are you networking with them? Are you saying hello? Are you being social?
Right.
Are you being friendly to connect with? So start looking at Facebook as that trade show and start getting to know people that are stopping by.
And then Twitter becomes that, announcer that is drawing people to your booth.
Exactly. You know, and I always tell people, like in the book, I say, you know, Twitter's the cocktail party of social media. Right. You know, it's, just one of those places where people are sharing information. They're passing along links to shows like this SchreckTeck Live. They're sharing statistics. They're sharing recommendations, testimonials. They're sharing information about their industry. They're telling when they're looking for something. And I know we're talking today about social selling, and that's really where things are headed. How many of you listening right now have gone onto Twitter or even Facebook and asked a question of your friends? Like I did the other day, I said, hey, I need to go out and buy a new phone. What are you guys using? What do you recommend? And
you get answers.
You get answers.
Yeah, amazing.
And the companies and products that are coming up, I mean, that's how they're selling things now, by who's talking about them. And if the more you can be part of that conversation, the better.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said be part of the conversation, because these tools allow you to jump into conversations that are going on. And it's interesting on Twitter, you can actually type, does anyone know a sales trainer, for example?
Yes.
If you type that in the search on Twitter, you might actually find several people, because people now go onto Twitter and Facebook and they type in, does anyone know? Who knows a great social media consultant? Who knows a great sales trainer? And when people type those into Twitter, they're looking to their community for answers. Well, if you type that in a search, you might actually find someone who's looking for your services that you're able to connect with that you would have never found, but we're able to eavesdrop.
That's a great tip. Yeah, because they're actively looking. Really I've actually done that myself. Like I've said, hey, I'm going up to New York City. I'm looking for a hotel. What do you guys recommend? And I'm so surprised when hotels actually respond.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good. Like if, let's just throw out a name. Let's just say the Hilton responds and says, hey, Sales Lounge, check out the Hilton. We'd love to have you stay here.
Right. And, it's interesting because a big part of selling, I mean, in sales training, it's always about listening to your customers. Well, now we're able to listen to conversations and pieces of them and offer solutions, like you said. And it's interesting because we manage some accounts for hotels, and that's exactly what the community manager does. She listens for people talking about heading to Denver for a vacation, or, we're looking for a little weekend getaway, and she has these search terms and columns set up in TweetDeck. She jumps in and offers solutions. So great sales tools. I almost
feel like it's easier now to be in sales than it ever was before. Because of so many reasons. When I worked in corporate America, in order for me to get access of names of people, particularly in corporate America, my company had to purchase for me the Hoover's database. And it was very, very expensive. And it had the names of, all the top senior VPs, the director of marketing, the director of purchasing, the director of HR, who I needed to talk to. And now I can get those people on LinkedIn.
Oh, there you are. I'm like, I hear the train.
All right, the train's gone.
There's a train.
When the train goes by, do you not hear anything except the train?
The ghost train.
There's no train really near my house. So I don't know.
Are they still running secret experiments over there, or?
I think that must be what it is. My neighbors, maybe they're running some. We are pretty close to Lockheed Martin.
You never know.
That's great. But anyway, LinkedIn. I mean, my gosh, we can now get access to all these decision makers, and more importantly, we can now start building relationships with them online before we make those calls. We can start joining groups that they're in online. We can start participating in discussions and networking with them online before we even make that, what used to be a cold call, can now be a warm call.
I hear our music.
It's Gina. It's time to move on to the next segment.
We're moving to talk about, because we're talking about social. Well, some of the random social, and Jennifer, you'll love this, is really looking at what industries. Last week we were talking about what industries are exempt from social media, because I was, in the funeral industry, you would think that would be really weird to get a friend request from a funeral home, or to find out on Twitter that the Undertaker is following you. But we really decided that any industry that provides solutions, it can create a social media presence. And one thing we talked about is, what in our businesses can we offer to our community? And maybe it's not always our services, because that was one thing we talked about last week, is can they provide resources for hospice care or Alzheimer's resources. And I think in selling, we have to start looking beyond and this is, I think it's always been true. It's true face-to-face, and it's true in social selling, but it's really about what services, what resources can we provide that helps build that relationship. And, whether it's, for example, at the Hyatt, when somebody checks in using Facebook Places, well, we can immediately connect with them and say, hey, here's a list of resources in the area that you might enjoy checking out. There's Red Rocks Amphitheater nearby. There's this, and send them a list. And they're so wowed because we're able to reach out differently. So I think in any industry, we need to start looking differently about how we serve. And what do you guys think about that?
No, I think that's great. I told a story recently. I was staying at the W Hotel in Atlanta, and I didn't have a car, and I needed to go down to the CVS, the drugstore, and I asked the hotel concierge if I could get down there. And she said, actually, we have complimentary shuttle service through our Acura Experience that will take you there. And I was like, oh, wow, what's that? I was very intrigued. Wow. Well, they had partnered with Acura dealership to drive. Whoops.
There goes Gina's train.
You must be hearing it.
Yep.
The ghost train.
Like, I don't hear it. So they partnered with Acura.
Yeah, they partnered with Acura so that their guests could experience a ride in their car anywhere within a 5-mile radius of the hotel, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And I rode in the car, absolutely loved it. Now, look, I'm sharing it with you guys, on the internet here. And the only caveat was that I needed to watch a 30-second video in the car while I was being freely driven to my destination. And I thought, now that's a really cool idea of, helping your customers, but also an out-of-the-box partnership.
Yeah, that's creative. And this morning I heard something really creative it was just on TV, and it said First Bank is offering Rockies opening day tickets, but you had to solve a puzzle, and the clues were on their Facebook page.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
We need to start getting really creative and linking these things, traditional marketing, to online marketing strategies.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I know I've shared with you this story, a little bit of a different way of using social media. But one of the ways when my book came out that I use social media to help me get some coverage is I started using tools like Facebook to start talking to media personalities. So one day I put out there just in my status update, hey, attention radio hosts, TV hosts, vloggers and bloggers, if you'd like a review copy of my book, let me know. And it ended up that I did get a response from someone at ABC News. It was Tori Johnson. And 2 weeks later, I was on ABC News as a result of that Facebook status.
And part of it is because they're listening.
They're listening
to the social media channels too.
So media people, so again, what they were trying to do is fill a spot on their channel, so they were looking to social media to help them find people to feature on their show. So it was really a win-win.
Which is a good point for people who might work within an organization saying, well, I don't really need to sell, or, we all want to sell ourselves and our expertise. And I think being out there and making sure people know what you're an expert in, social media is a great channel to showcase your expertise.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I think, more and more businesses and entrepreneurs need to start looking at new and different ways to really start thinking creatively out of the box.
Right.
As to, how to partner, how to solve problems, like you said.
True. Well, we're ready for some shiny objects? See, I wear lots of shiny objects.
Yeah.
Okay, Gina, we're back.
We're back.
I think you have a subway running under your place. That's what it is.
I bought a new power strip thinking I was having power surges because I have so many things. Nothing.
I think you're really broadcasting from Grand Central Station.
I think I am. Maybe there's an underground train that I don't know about. But let's talk about shiny objects.
Great.
I don't hear the music, but maybe I'm dancing to a different drummer.
We're a little off today.
We always think, Rick is on cold medication today.
Oh, gosh.
So we do have to give him that. This segment is called Shiny Objects, which I have to show my mug. If you put this on, it looks like a giant diamond ring on the handle of the cup.
That's great.
It's so funny. So, whenever I'm feeling like I need an extra bling. But shiny objects, we're always looking for gadgets and fun things. Well, now, the first thing I have to show you, which everyone will love this because it'll help keep your objects shiny. And this is called Cyber Clean. I actually, I'm trying to think how I discovered this. They sent me a bunch of samples to talk about, and because they know that I'm always talking about gadgets and social media and technology, it feels like a goop, like a kid's play toy type thing, but it's this putty, and you press it. Well, I don't have a keyboard on my phone, but you press it on. Actually, it's great for around your phone, but it works great on your keyboards, on your phone keypad, on your laptop. Obviously, turn it off, but then you press it into the keyboard, and it pulls out all the nasty crumbs and dust. And there's an antibiotic element to it, so it kind of disinfects your keyboard. And then you fold it over, and it continues to work until the yellow putty starts turning kind of a gray. And they sell it. Okay, it makes kind of nasty noises, but they sell it for cars now. I've noticed it in the hardware area or the automotive area in stores, and you can use it in your car as well. So I love CyberClean. It looks like a commercial. They're not even paying us.
They found a use for silly putty.
Or you could give it to your kids to use. I don't know. Give it to your kids to clean all the nooks and crannies out of everything, and they'll love it, and you'll have clean stuff. Really cool. And you can get it I've seen it at Target, and I've seen it at Staples and Office Depot, Office Max, places like that. CyberClean. Okay. But then my other gadget, and I have to give a shout out to Jane Bozarth, because Jane had told me about these little speakers that she had, and I'm always looking for portable speakers to hook into my iPad or my phone. Let's say you're somewhere, maybe you're teaching a class or you're speaking somewhere. These are called tweakers, and it's TWEAKERS, tweakers, and it just looks like this little bullet. Well, you pull it apart, and these are speakers. You set it on both sides. It has a plug that plugs right into your device, into the headset port for power. It plugs into your device as well for power. You turn it on, and really great sound. So I have to share. I'm always looking, and I pick these up at the airport.
So how much do those run
great.
for?
Well, you know what? You can get them for about $20. I think $19. I paid $30 because I bought them at an airport store.
And they sound good.
Yeah. Jane and I were talking about my addiction to shopping at airports. It's a bad thing. I said if they sold furniture at airports, I'd probably fill my house with furniture at airport stores.
And moving right along.
Moving right along. We're always like so packed with stuff. Okay, Jennifer, we're talking about apps on the map. And I have 2 apps that I have to share today. One, because I'm going to Mexico City next week. I've been trying to find lots of translation apps and, language apps that help us when we travel abroad. Well, there is one that I love called Word Lens. And Word Lens is available on iPhone and the new iPad too, because you need a camera. So I was excited to see that it came to the iPad. And what you do is you open up, and let me see if I can actually show you here. It's called Word Lens. And so it's using your camera. And let's just say I happen to have a Spanish book handy. Well, you open up. Now how you would use this is if you're in Mexico and you see a sign, you can hold up the app to a sign, and it actually translates on the page.
Wow, that is wild.
But you need an iPad too or an iPhone, right?
And it works on the iPhone as well.
Right.
You're actually using the camera, and it's amazing. Now there's another piece to it. You can say I want to reverse words. I couldn't figure out why you'd want to reverse words until Schrecklet, my 15-year-old, said, well, what if you took a picture of something and the words on it were backwards, but you wanted to have the words show up forwards? You can hold this over the picture that has a word backwards. And again, I'm not sure. A camera wouldn't take it. I don't know. But
the
it will
camera
reverse.
does take it backwards, actually.
Maybe you want it to be backwards. But there's a funny, reverse words. There's also a piece in here that says erase words. And it'll take all words out of an object so that you could then use it to add words in. So Word Lens, I've been having fun with this one.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, really cool. Okay, but if you have kids, and I would say ages 10 and up, this past week we did a little spring break getaway, went skiing and stuff, and Bailey and I, Schrecklet, we were looking for some fun games on the iPad. We found one called Max and the Magic Marker. The best educational physics game and problem-solving game ever. I mean, it is, I think, could win some awards for Game of the Year for kids because it is so educational and a great problem-solving app. Again, it's called Max and the Magic Marker. I have so many apps. I need to get them organized. But you have to draw. You draw, and then your character can walk across the bridge that you built, or you can draw a big boulder, and it falls and launches Max into a, wherever he's trying to go. So really great. So let me see if you can actually see Max. So you draw with this marker, a bridge, and he'll cross it, and there's multiple levels. She's 15, and she can't get enough of it. So really cool game. But I have to say there's another game called Sheep, Battle Sheep. And if you're familiar with Battleship, You've Sunk My Battleship. There's a game called Battle Sheep. Most horrifying game I've ever seen. Horrifying. I mean, truly, I said I was going to have nightmares. These sheep were impaled by sharp objects and napalm bombs, and the most violent little sheep game ever. Don't download that one.
That's endorsed by PETA, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised. My husband said that. He goes, I'm surprised PETA has not gotten involved to put a stop to this game. It's the most frightening, horrifying, blood splatters on your screen of your, it's awful. So now all the guys are going to go download it. But I'm telling you, it's not for kids.
It will be. You've made it popular now.
I've made it popular by telling how horrifying it is, but it looks like it's for little kids. We go, oh, how cute. Battle Sheep. This might be kind of fun. Horrifying. That's my one word for that app. So those are my apps for the day.
That's great. Good stuff.
Now, Jennifer, you'll have to help me with this one, because this is our part we call Dear Schreck. And this is our social dilemma that companies have. And I'm hearing this happen over and over. So here's our social dilemma. Dear Schreck, recently my Facebook page for our business was hacked. It was hacked by a former employee. He was on here as an admin. He removed all of us as admins and then started posting inappropriate content. What can we do? This is a really huge problem right now with people. I hear a lot of companies bringing in college interns, or they bring in somebody's cousin who happens to know, some teenager or somebody who knows Facebook and they don't really know or have a relationship with them. But on a Facebook business page, you really have to trust the people you have as an admin on your sites. And this has actually happened. I've had several emails from people saying, I can't get into my Facebook business page. Part of it is some of the problems are they set them up wrong. So they set it up as a separate email and they can't remember it. And, Facebook saying, hey, you should have set it up the right way. In this case, see, if I put Rick, Jennifer, and myself as admins on my business page, all of us have equal rights. Even though I created it, we're all equal. So if Rick went off the deep end, hypothetically,
could happen
from cold medication, Rick could remove us as admins. So, it goes back to, and I don't know, Jennifer, if you've dealt with this, of people setting up now or asking you about social media policies.
Oh, yes. It's a big, big issue that's coming up. I mean, still even corporations are just now thinking that they need to have a policy.
Right.
But small businesses that have, 10 employees, as well, they're all starting to now consider, we need to have a policy. Who has access to running the site? Who has access to post information on the site?
And, people say, should we let any employee add content? And I always say, start with your email policy, if you have an email policy, and look at that because it's probably a similar, but you wouldn't let just anybody post content on your website. So
right.
The same rules should apply with your Facebook page for a business. You want to have people that you trust, maybe a communications, whether it's a communications department or marketing department, but have a team. You do want more than one person. For that reason. But you want to make sure that the people that you either hire, or outsource to have signed an agreement that, that you can actually hold them to in a court of law. Because I think these type of laws, which in 2 weeks, we're going to have Natalie Hoo-Ha on the show, who is a social media legal person who deals a lot with this. And Francine Ward is another person that I'd love to hear from on this, because I think laws are being made, as they happen. They're just...
another that's true. The law is being made like right now as we speak. And I don't know if you talked about this at the funeral directors gathering, but another thing that companies, CEOs in particular, need to start thinking about is what if they pass away?
Yeah.
What's our social media policy?
We didn't talk about
what if
dying
something
at the funeral
happens to the owners of the company? Have you given directions for someone in your company to, post information about what's happened, turn the site off? I mean, these are things that are now being thought through, particularly some of these business pages that have 100,000, 500,000,
right,
a million fans that
there's a lot invested.
Very active.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you bring up that, because here's a personal side to that. In families, kids have Facebook pages. If something happens to a child, God forbid, parents can't get in there and shut down that page. And we hear these stories in cyberbullying cases where the bullies continue going on and writing nasty comments on that page. Or let's say in a heartwarming way, their friends continue going on and posting, but there's no way for the parents to get involved and actually monitor or be involved. So I always recommend, and it's funny because I'm speaking in 2 weeks to YPO, the Young Presidents Organization, to parents and teens about this, and we're talking about with social media accounts. I think parents and teens and preteens now need to have social media agreements, same as a business, to say, I want you, and we did this in our family, I want you to write your passwords down on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope. We will seal the envelope. Put them in a file somewhere. I have my password. Now, in our family, we all know each other's passwords. My girls don't mind me knowing, and they know mine. But we put them there. If something were to happen to us, we know where to go to get that password to get in and stop on the account. But we had to make an agreement. What we post is public. It represents our family brand. And, same thing with a business. I think we need to start looking at social media just completely different. It's a new world. And I think these issues are, they're new to us. So really interesting.
Yeah, I think this is a great conversation for families to have and businesses to have.
Yeah. I tell my kids, we need to have the talk, the Facebook talk, and I think companies need that same thing. They need to be able to have these conversations because they're not used to that. Is who posts, and look at Aflac, what happened with Gilbert Godfrey, who was posting on his own personal Twitter account, slanderous things, inappropriate comments, and but he was representing Aflac. And so he got fired. So I think we need to start looking at. What's that?
Exactly. Well, two things. I know someone, unfortunately, that their daughter did pass away, and their friends are still going on to their Facebook page and posting. And I didn't even think about that the mother now doesn't have access to go in and either close down the page or put something up on behalf of the daughter. So I think that's very, very important.
It was interesting at this funeral directors marketing conference. The founder of Monster.com, Jeff Taylor, he was there because he started a new company called Tributes.com, and it's a social site for tributes, living tributes for those who have passed away or that are still living that want to create kind of a family story. But it's interesting because he talked about, if somebody passes away, getting their Facebook connections and driving them over to this tribute site where it's a living document that kind of stays online and can be added to. So, I really think our whole society is looking at social everything. We're living social. And how that really applies.
It's a little aside, but yesterday I put a post on Facebook about hospitals now are starting to consider virtual visitations. Because people right now, my father's brother is in the hospital in Oklahoma. My father's on the East Coast, and his brother's been in the hospital for a month or two. How cool would it be to have him be able to have this type of conversation popping up on the television monitor in the room?
It is interesting. Technology has opened the doors. And I get back to the funeral. They said they have several people request to have a video camera at the funeral for somebody who's, in the service. They're serving our country, and they're overseas, or maybe they're living somewhere they can't make it to the funeral, and they broadcast it via video streaming as well. So it's interesting. There's no industry and there's no part of our businesses. I think we need to look at our businesses with a more holistic social view to say, how can we share in an appropriate way what's going on and educate our customers or engage our customers in ways that we may not have thought of before.
Yeah, I agree. I think everyone, and almost, have those meetings, have them once a month, have a round table where you start brainstorming. How can we better use this technology, like you said, to help solve our customers' problems or even our prospects' problems?
Right. And I think every single person needs to stop and just say, how can I use some of these tools in different ways? New ways, creative ways. The more creative you can get, you will find, and a lot of it is jumping in, using the tools, and then you start finding ways to apply them to your business in creative ways. But last week definitely challenged me to think different about any industry and how we can reach out to our customer base.
That's great.
Yeah, really cool. And there was our music again. I'm going, okay, there's our.
I thought I actually turned Gina off for a second. Boom, she was done.
We haven't heard the train for a while, though. This is good.
I'm the only person who has the power to mute Gina. This is really funny.
My husband's still looking for that power. He just looks for that. I'm looking in the chat room. Let's closing out. Let's ask Jennifer any question. Here's the queen of. See, Jennifer, you could say you are the queen of all idiots. The idiot's guide to social media. So any question.
That didn't come out right, Gina.
Yeah, that didn't come out right. For using
It's okay.
social
No,
media,
I
and
told my
really when we
family,
talk
I
about
said, like,
social
But,
media,
but
Jennifer-
I do have to make one comment, though. You said you were selling for 22 years,
yes.
which really ruined my theory that you were about 26 years old. So, oh well. You barely look in your 20s, so keep it up.
Well,
you know, that
we
is
can-
true,
we can add a
Jennifer.
few
Come
more
on,
years to
did
that.
you count Girl Scout sales or something?
Good genes, good genes.
Yeah, exactly. Good genes. I always tell people it's my chubby cheeks. You know, it makes you stay younger.
Right.
Looking. But, you know, in your book, Idiot's Guide to Social Media, most people think Facebook or Twitter. What really did you encompass under that umbrella of social media?
Well, I started initially when I was in corporate sales. We were using LinkedIn, but LinkedIn at that time was really more of an electronic Rolodex. We weren't looking at it as a social tool necessarily, and that was before Facebook came around.
Right.
But certainly it helped with, warm calls versus cold calls. But when I started my own business, I did turn to Facebook. And again, it was just sort of by default, looking at the numbers, just the sheer numbers of people that were on there. And that has proven time and time again to really help my business. But I love Twitter as well. I have made amazing connections on Twitter, media connections, strategic partner connections. I've gotten speaking engagements through Twitter. It's just been fantastic.
Jennifer,
So those are the three biggies that I use. But I think people shouldn't overlook this type of technology. I mean, this is I look at this as a social form of social media.
Right.
We're socializing, the three of us. We're talking with people who are writing us questions. Webinars, teleseminars. Start thinking. You don't have to be a corporate Fortune 100 company to use those types of tools.
Right.
And so I think I started using, webinars, teleseminars, things like that myself. I used to use them in corporate America, but now I use them for my business. And I think any small business can use them.
Jennifer, what's your Twitter ID?
I'm at Sales Lounge.
Sales Lounge. Okay.
Yeah. So join me on Twitter. I do virtual happy hours from time to time, and I'll send you a virtual drink on Fridays.
And who doesn't want that? I mean,
Exactly.
I love Jennifer's line. She's always saying, I raise my glass to you.
Yes, I raise my glass to your success.
Are there any questions in the Gina? Any questions in the chat?
Yes. What do you think about the new Deckly? Deckly. Is that the where you can put too much into TweetDeck? I think that's what Deckly is.
I've heard of it. I haven't used it.
It just allows you to go past the 140 characters. Though it's sort of interesting.
Longer.
Most people don't realize that the .ly is Libya.
Yeah.
So I wonder how those things are holding up.
I use Bitly all the time, and that's
Bitly is also Libya.
And it's been fine.
Yep.
Here's my thought on the Deckly longer tweets. The Tweet Longer is another service. I think people on Twitter have such a short span of attention. They're not going to click to read more.
I agree. Shorter is better.
Shorter's better. I'd rather edit, or put part one. I've seen people do part one, part two, which is hard because usually people, again, the Twitter stream is moving so fast. But I just think we have to learn to be brief, get our point across. And so, Barbara, great question. I know TweetDeck added that feature to have longer tweets. I just don't think people are really clicking that often.
Actually, you'd be surprised, especially with the e-learning people.
We'd be surprised that they
do a lot of long tweets.
Well, and here's a good point. If your audience is tight, so you have a really focused audience that you're connected with on Twitter, they know you and trust you, and the e-learning community is a good example of this because they tend to follow fewer people. It's a tighter community, and there's a greater sense of trust. They will read because they're content people.
I thought they just talk a lot.
They're like us.
Blah, 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 blah.
But don't you think, and you guys let me know if I'm off base, but I think if you have a community that trusts you and they're following a small enough community, they will take a little more time.
Yeah,
but for the mass
it's a little more intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. mean, I guess the more intimate, maybe people will click on that. But
well, before we wrap up, Jennifer, are there any announcements you want to make? Any talks you're giving? Anything coming up?
Oh gosh. Well, I'd love for people to subscribe to my award-winning e-zine at thesaleslounge.com. And I am going to be doing an event up in New York City in May, an exclusive, private, exclusive masterclass with CEO and celebrity speech coach Ruth Sherman. We're limiting it to 20 people. And so we'll be doing that up in New York City. And so if they get my newsletter, they'll get the date for that. And that's coming up next month.
That's great. And Gina, anything coming up with you?
Oh, gosh, I hit the road. And again, I'm really excited about this YPO, getting to talk to parents and teens. I'm really excited about that. But no, I mean, kind of the normal stuff on the road, speaking more than I really want to be. Jennifer and I were talking about this. I need to keep my butt in my seat a little more often, which is hard.
See, you up your rates and everybody still wants you.
I know. And, and I need to start saying, no, I can't. No. But it's good. It's all good. Yeah. So how about you, Rick? Are you here this week?
I am actually here sort of. I'm doing a video workshop to teach 30 people how to shoot videos for ASTD, the American Society for Training and Development, on Friday.
Which is so great.
And other than that, I think I'm
videos.
actually home for a month, so that's good.
That is good. I have to point something out in the chat room because I think it's funny. When I was talking about Battle Sheep being just horrifying, Larry did point out that, Rick, I told you about the hunting app. Mm-hmm. And I just want to clarify something. That hunting app only makes sounds of animals. It doesn't show them exploding on the screen.
and I don't hunt.
And Rick doesn't hunt, but we keep teasing him that we think there's a hidden violent streak somewhere because he looks so kind. So somehow we think it's there. But yeah, Larry, there's no visual effects. So, this sheep, battle sheep, horrifying. But look at that. It's almost a whole hour. We've gone 50 minutes. We always try to keep it to 45. I can never do it.
It's just too hard when you're having fun.
There's just so much we could talk about. So fun stuff.
For all of you guys in the chat room and all those watching on Vimeo, thank you very much. And Jennifer, hey, thanks a lot for coming today. Really appreciate it. And
thank you. And I raise my glass to your success. This is a great show, and I'll be tuning in every week.
Clink.
Good. All right, Gina. We'll see you next week, Gina.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.